Hey, what's up, everybody? Just got a little alert here. XRP price surge. Let's check it out. We just got up to about 60 cents. That's not too bad, but although it's not great, uh, that's a pretty good little pump from sitting here from Monday, um, the start of Monday, and now we're sort of at the end of the day, right? So we're up about 9 or 8.5%, which is not bad for 24 hours. So let's see what she can do here. The important thing is we're starting to curve back to the upside. We want to see that curve. Why? Because we want to see what? The shoulder play out, right? So we have a pretty unique looking inverse head and shoulders. So there's your neckline there, right? The measured move approximately. You're looking at, I would say, between 84 and 88 cents. I think that's a good little area for it to, for to target towards. So, but yeah, let's dive into it and see what we got here. So, what did we talk about? What we talked about is exactly what's happened. It's kind of funny how it just that kind of thing just happens. It doesn't happen all the time, right? But when it does, it's a satisfying feeling. So we talked about this little roundabout, right? And then we talked about it going sideways, which it did, and then breaking out, back testing a little bit, and then shooting back to the upside. So that's exactly what happened. But the hard part isn't over. Why? Because now we're in the most difficult part, which is in the retracement level, right? So you take the top of the wave, you take the bottom of the wave, and where are we? We're right in the middle. So that's always a challenge to figure out, okay, is it going to come back down? Is it going to go back up? That's always the challenge. And that's what we're going to talk about today and see if we can maybe get an edge and try to figure out how this is going to go down. But essentially, yeah, so when we go back to the daily chart here, and let me just go back in time a little bit right here. This is what I was comparing it to. I feel like I've been talking about this for about a week now or so, which is actually a lot longer when referencing to Bitcoin. But, we had this big dump here. We had this little roundabout. And then what did we do? We went sideways here. And then we started to break out. Now, this breakout had a lot more conviction because this price structure was a lot bigger. I mean, you can just see how big it was. I mean, this is from March all the way to July. So, that's a pretty long time. What is that, like 3 4 months there? So yeah. um yeah, so let's go to Bitcoin real quick. We'll jump back to XRP, and the main idea here has been essentially looking at this from a fractal perspective, right? Just a little bit of a recap. um the big thing for me was when we were dumping down, a lot of people didn't know what to expect. I'm pretty certain a lot of people didn't expect that. I certainly didn't expect that. And the reason why is because when you have a five-wave move, 1 2 3 4 5, and then you have an A, B, C, and then you have 5 waves up, I mean, it looks really good, right? It looks like, hey, we could be on our way here. The problem, though, is after the 5 waves, right? After the 5 waves, we didn't get an ABC. It looked like we were getting an expanded flat A, B, and then a C. But then what happened? We just, bam, tanked to the downside. Now, this was not crypto related. Again, this was a stock market related issue, sort of a margin call event where people had to sell off their crypto to sort of cover their losses, right? And that's usually how it happens. But where are we now, right? Where are we now? Well, before I talk about that, let's talk about when we got here to the bottom. Actually, when we were in the middle here, I've been talking about how this looks so similar to what happened over here. And let me just put this right about there. I'll put this down here. And essentially, as we were crashing, I was very much so emphasizing without, I can't give financial advice. It's not financial advice, but don't sell. I know a lot of people panicked in here. They thought this is the big one. But, I was saying, please don't sell. Why? Because a lot of times when you slice right through it like it's not even there, most of the time you come back and retest here. So basically was saying the decision is not going to be met down here or even here. The decision is always met in the middle, right? So in the retracement levels. So if you wanted to sell because you couldn't take the pain anymore, basically you want to wait until you come back up. Now that's a little bit of a risk because it could keep falling down, but typically, that's usually what happens. And we had a reference point to look back to, which was over here. Now, when we were in the thick of it, we were comparing it. Now, fast forward today, we see like almost everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people talking about this price structure. And it's kind of interesting because those same people who were talking about it said that this was not 2019 or 2020, and this is not 2017. And when we were talking about Bitcoin back in here, I want to say, no, I'm sorry. Where was that at here? Actually, right in here. As we were starting to go higher, we talked about the differences between 2017, the run up, and 2019. And essentially talking about which one's it going to be. Is it going to be more of a 2017 style or a 2020, 2019 style? So when you look at the two, right, this is 2015, 2016, 2017, you can see we basically had a big crash. And then what we did was we developed a base, and then we developed another base, and then we developed a little bit of a base. Not really, it was more of a back test, but then we had the big run up, okay? And we were comparing that to what was happening over here. And I said it's probably more similar to what's happening now, right? Which is our base, our second base. But then we came up and notice back over here, after that second base was created, we broke out and we back tested it. And then that allowed the run up. But if you look at over here, here's our second base. We broke out same way, but we never came down to back test. And that was always the concern in the back of my mind. Even going high, after this ABC expanded flat here, you can see ABC. By the way, we nailed that perfectly because a lot of people thought this was going to break out. But we said, no, it's more of a correction because the way here's the top here, and the way it broke out was very corrective. But anyway, I digress. The point is, this wave did not correct back down to back test this area. Instead, it continued higher, which is fine, right? Because it was in a impulse. It was in a 5-wave sequence, and that sequence wasn't over. But it would have been nice to have that back test, right, to confirm the breakout. So ever since we've been, charging up here, and even through this correction, it's always been in the back of my mind, well, what if we still have to come down to 30K, 31K, right? Well, if that's the case, then this whole thing would be a rise, crash, retrace. We'd come down and reaccumulate and then go, right? So that's the main idea for the bears. The bullish idea has always been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that decision is going to be met in this correction. And more specifically, that decision will also be met during this retracement, which we're in now. So it's literally do or die, you know. So if the stock market continues to go down, if the dollar finds its footing, it's a little bit concerning that the dollar's going down, yet Bitcoin hasn't broken out. Now it might be, as you say, billowing up, right? It's sort of coiling up. It's essentially building up steam in here for that breakout, and that's very possible. Now, when you look at the structure of the correction, it looks very beautiful, right? What I mean by that is the way it's correcting. This is typically what you want to see in a correction, where you have this overlapping up and down sort of movement in here. And it kind of looks like a bull flag, right? Or a broadening wedge, or whatever you want to call it, right? It's got that sort of flag appeal to it. So if I take that measured move, and let's say we break out, I mean, that's literally $105,000 Bitcoin. I think the alt season would be a lot more juicy if Bitcoin can hit that 100K area, because a lot of people want to know, where's the liquidity going to come from to pump the alts? Well, it's going to come from Bitcoin, right? That's really what it's going to be. People are going to be pouring their money into Bitcoin, and all of the people who bought down in here are going to be selling their Bitcoin into the altcoins. And then what happens is Bitcoin doesn't go down, because so many, it's like you have a fire burning, and as soon as the log catches fire, they take it out. But as soon as you take it out, you put a new log in. So it's kind of like holding the price up, right? And then you see the alts, which are, let me just put on THETA here. Let's put this on regular. There we go. And I'll shoot that up. Let me just take everything off the screen. You see the alts, most of the time, what do? They're kind of like playing down here while Bitcoin is going higher. And that's exactly what happened in 2017, right? So if Bitcoin gets that fifth wave and hits that 80, 100K area or even higher, that's usually when people start to take their profit. Obviously, right? Because a $100,000 Bitcoin, how many people that bought Bitcoin in the early days are waiting for that $100,000 number, right? I can't imagine how many people would sell their Bitcoin who've been hodling for how long, either taking profit or cycling it into the altcoins. So as the price makes its way up here, people who are like the media is pumping it out, right? Because $100,000 Bitcoin would be the biggest news in crypto history, right? Bitcoin hitting 100K would be without a doubt the biggest story of crypto's history. People have been talking about it for a long time. I mean, go back to, what's his name? John McAfee or whatever, talking about it. But even more than that. So when that happens, a lot of people are going to know about it because everybody's going to be talking about it. And when that happens, people like your neighbor or your cousin or that guy who doesn't know crypto ends up calling you saying, hey, where do I get Bitcoin at? That's when you know, hey, things are getting dicey. Meanwhile, most people, or I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of people who bought down in here are going to be cycling their Bitcoin into coins that have been going flat, right? Then what happens is the people who, like your neighbor or your cousin or whoever doesn't know really much about crypto, they start buying Bitcoin, which keeps the price up in distribution. Also, the whales want to keep it high so that they can continue to distribute. That's why you have Wyckoff accumulation schematics. That's why you have distribution schematics, where it's not like, 2020 where you came up and it was a bubble and it just popped. Because there wasn't that much going on back then. But now, you have more of a distribution type, right? Where you have money coming out, but then you also have money coming in, which keeps the price up. And that money coming in pushes more money out, which then goes to the alts, and then you get a big shot in the altcoins, right? So this is theta down here. You'd hopefully get a big shot, right? So if you just look at what happened before, back in the last run here, you can see, let me just move that a little bit there. Okay. You could see very clearly that Bitcoin was going up. It's starting to trend up, but look at theta, it's going sideways. It was going sideways all through here, really until about there. It had a little bit of a markup, but not too much, right? And where was that markup at? It was right at, I would say right here, which would be, look at that. That's actually the top of the distribution. So let me just remove this real quick. There's our line right here. And that's exactly where the top was. Now it went up a little bit higher, but you can see that's where the distribution started. You can see we're going up, we're going down, we're going up, we're going down, we're going up, we're going down, we're going up, and then we crash, right? So it gave people who had a lot of Bitcoin a lot of opportunities to get in or get out. So put theta back on. So let me just pump this up to the, let's say the 2-week chart here. And let me go back right there. So you can see that big 2-week candle, which is right here. That was the breakout, right? That was the big breakout. And it only lasted about a month. You can see 2 weeks, 2 weeks, so 4 weeks. And that occurred, again, right, this candle right here occurred where? At the very top of Bitcoin. That's when alt started to run, right? So that's what we want to see happen again. Let me take that off. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's put on XRP here. And XRP is very, very similar. I mean, look at this. You can't really tell too much because I got it on linear scale. If I put it on log scale, then it doesn't match up. If I put it on percent, it's a little bit better, but I can't adjust it, so I usually just put it on regular. There we go. So I can kind of play with it here. So you can see back in 2017, right, what was Bitcoin doing? It was starting to move on up, move on up. And what was XRP doing? It was going sideways, marked up a little bit, sideways. And then it only lasted 2 weeks, so 4 weeks. This was basically the whole thing right there, right? And you had a little bit over here too, right? In percentage terms, that's actually a lot more. But let me scrunch this down a little bit. Where did that breakout occur? It occurred at the exact top of where Bitcoin was, right? So the Bitcoin bear market usually is signaled with an alt season. That's usually how it works, okay? So if I take this now, why am I so bullish on XRP? Because look at the deviation, look at the divergence, look how massive that divergence. I have to scrunch it down just to fit it in the screen, right? But you can even see, how much it deviated, and you can say the lawsuit, whatever. But even without it, I mean, it was still, I would say, pretty big. So here you had a high, and then you had a lower low, or you had a lower high and a lower low. This was a lower high and then a higher low, and then that's when the massive rally started. But unfortunately for XRP, it didn't get to participate, but for Theta, it did. And then you can see now, let's fast forward today, right? And there's a reason why I'm talking about this, and we'll jump into the price, we'll jump into the small time frames. But you can see, again, that's the same kind of behavior we're getting, right? So back in the day, right here, actually, let me go to the weekly chart. There we go. You can see a little bit more detail in here. Okay, so back in the day, what did we see? We saw Bitcoin starting its run up, and then XRP was basically sideways. So we had all of this divergence here, and then at the flip of a switch, boom, it just exploded, right? So if we go to fast forward today and we look at it, right? I don't even have Bitcoin in the screen. That's how high it is. You can see if I kind of match it up here with these highs, you can see it's pretty well in sync on the way down, pretty well in sync here, and then even this run up here. But then what happens is actually quite remarkable. Right here, that's when it completely diverged, like massively. Then you have this huge Bitcoin pump, and then look at XRP. It's basically sagging down, coiling up here. Similar to how this is sagging down, right? A little bit, you have this move up and then this counter move, right? You have this move up and this counter move. Now, traditionally, when you have a channel going down, usually likes to break to the upside. When you have a channel breaking or moving on up, it likes to break to the downside. So we'll see how that works. But what I'm really trying to say here is, if Bitcoin, now I'm going to have to take this off the screen and scrunch it up a little bit so we can see. Let's see. Yeah, right about there. So if Bitcoin can break out into that fifth wave, I'm not saying that's going to happen today or tomorrow or even next week, but sometime, hopefully this year, especially, if we can't get it done through October and December, we're definitely going into reaccumulation. But by that time, we would probably already know. We're probably going to know the answer very soon. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we get wave 5 and we break out, and then we start to go into distribution where people are selling their Bitcoin into altcoins or taking profits, and then you have a lot of new people buying Bitcoin, right? As it's moving up, you can start to see, okay, maybe it moves up a little bit. But then as it goes into distribution, then bam, you get it like a straight line up that takes all of the gains and maximizes it by 10, right? So the smart way to have played this was to just be in Bitcoin, right? Just be in Bitcoin and wait. And once Bitcoin, starts to have a little bit of pressure, that's when you start to rotate. Which means rotating now. So if I have Bitcoin, I'm rotating it into altcoins because that's where the percentage is, right? If we go to 60 to 100K, that's like XRP going from 60 cents to $1. It's not going to go to $1. It's going to go to $5. It's going to go to $7. It's going to go to $10. It's going to be incredible, right? Not saying that's a for sure thing. Anything could happen, but historically, that's what it does, right? So, yeah, and this is designed for a reason. Bitcoin goes up, alts stay down here. You can see that angle right there. So what happens is, as we're going up, as this keeps going flat, people what? They sell their alts and they jump into Bitcoin. And when are they jumping into Bitcoin? They're jumping in right now, which will also cause the fifth wave. We need those people to dump their alts and buy Bitcoin. Why? Because we want Bitcoin to get pushed up here, right? And then basically once it's pushed up here, then this is the gasoline to ignite this fire that lights up very fast. So that's kind of the idea. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but that's kind of the idea. And so let's go to XRP real quick. And if we take If we take XRP here, and let's flip that to log scale, and we basically take this entire bars pattern, right? I know you've seen this a million times, but from a time perspective, we should be at that point where that happens, right? So if I put Bitcoin back on the screen here, and let me just modify this a little bit. So yeah, somewhere in there, right? I mean, it's literally from a time perspective, almost there. And this is the weekly chart, so you got to give it a little bit, maybe between 3 to 6 weeks leeway, right? You got to give it a little bit of space. So it's not going to happen exactly, right? But around that same area. So just putting it all together here, when we see Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin breaks out, which is a good possibility it can, and as it's breaking out, we're pushing higher. And then as it goes into distribution, that's when it really accelerates. Now, I don't know if we're going to get all this and all this, right? It's just hard to know right now. So we have to let the data come in and play it as it comes in. But yeah, that's the idea for now, is getting a big pump, right? So this should be the time where that happens. If it's not the time, then that means what? We're going down into distribution. Or I'm sorry, we're going down into reaccumulation. So somewhere in this box, that's where I presume, actually, I would have it probably between 28,400 and 43,000. So that is approximately about a $15,500 range. Or what was the percentage on that? The percentage on that was about 53%. So that's a 50% range. And then from the downside, that's about a 35% range. That makes sense. So, but if we had something like that, from crash down to the bottom, that would be about 60%, which is normal for Bitcoin. That's completely normal. But as it grows, it's going to be a lot less. Like this one was what? I mean, this was a huge dump. This was over 80%. Okay, and this one here, excluding the COVID wick, I'm just going to go to the base, that was 60%. Right at the, so from the peak of this move, so right here, all the way down to the bottom of the close was 61%. So that's exactly right here at 28,000 and 28,000, about 700. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. But essentially, if we do start getting rejected, we start coming down, it's most likely, we would probably have one more chance at backtesting this area here. And we would have, let me remove that here, we would have something like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We come up 1, 2, 3. And then we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So kind of like a interesting ABC here. Basically a more complex. Backtesting this area. Around 43K or so. Right? And that's when Trump takes the White House, right in here. and that's when we start to explode, right? So that's kind of the new idea I'm proposing. So what that idea means is, number one, we're not going to blast off. And number two, we're not going to crash to the floor and go into a reaccumulation. But it's somewhere in the middle, right? So, am I leaning towards that idea? No. The main idea is still that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm still thinking this is we're going to move up. Now, what's giving me doubt? Number one, obviously we live in this turbulent deep state situation where it's an election year. A lot of things can happen, right? So, we have the labor market not doing so good, recession talks, inflation, right? Which you think would be good for Bitcoin. You also have obviously the election coming up. So what type of event are they going to pull? Is it a cyber attack? Is it war? Is it Russia? Is it all that stuff? I'm not going to even list all the countries over there, but you know what I'm talking about. Something that happens over there, right? Is it maybe China and Taiwan? Is it who knows? It could be anything, right? There's a lot of things on deck that could happen. And that type of situation can cause something like this, where you have a big fat dump, right? But I would rather it be a big fat dump, quick and easy, than a long, drawn out, methodical dump, right? Kind of like how this did. It just took so long to get over with, right? So, if it's going to go down into reaccumulation organically, then it's going to take a long time. But if it's some kind of event, it could be very fast and then very quick recovery, right? It would probably be quick and then a very fast recovery, something like that, right? Where we come down and we backtest this area, 30K, right? So, there's a big chance that we could come down and backtest 30, 31K. And that would align with some stock market crash, right? Trump said, hey, it's probably going to get worse. Now, he's saying it for political reasons. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But, you never know, right? And it's a big bubble. There's no reason why the stock market should be valued that high, right? The companies aren't earning as much as they used to. People aren't employed. So there's a lot of problems out there. Now, it's kind of like crypto can solve a lot of these problems, right? If we had a decentralized financial system and we had, the appropriate tools to take on all the challenges, and to me, that's all blockchain related, then yeah, obviously we could get ourselves out of it, including the national debt, using the Bitcoin stockpile, using gold, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is whatever happens between now and the election, and it's going to get wild. Trust me when I tell you, it will be wild. It's going to, you think you've seen things. You ain't seen nothing yet. These people are psychopaths. They are desperate, beyond desperate, because it's basically their life, right? If you were cornered in a corner and you knew you were going to be, right, game over, what are you going to do, right? If you corner a dog, they have no choice but to bite. So what kind of bite are they going to provide, right? Hopefully it's nothing with the N word, right? Nuclear. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. I think whatever happens, it's going to be a scare event. They're going to try to scare you. And people are going to they're going to feel it. But I think ultimately the good guys, the patriots, are in full control. And so whatever happens needs to happen so that people can see the truth. It's kind of like
pointing out, hey, he's a robber. He just robbed that store. Oh yeah, well show me the proof. Where's the stolen items, right? And it's like we're shaking out his pockets and we see all the items. Well, eventually that's going to happen. So, anyways, that's my little rant for today. Now let's jump into the price action on the small time frames. So, let's look at the 4-hour chart here. Now, what it's hilarious because this is wow. This is exactly what we thought would happen. Right? So let me put a screenshot here. And then let me go back in time to back over here. Let's see. And we can see right here, right? We were comparing this recovery. We've been comparing it since we were literally in the crash. When we were actually creating this kind of this flat top here, I said we're probably going to roll down and then hit the low. And then we're going to come back up and maybe match this high, then come back down. And that's exactly what happened. So here's a little bit of a drawing here. And this was just the other day. I mean, we were tracking this for a while, and basically we're nailing all of these moves in here. So yesterday I put this little fractal here, and you can see, not on a video, but just a screenshot, you can see the projection was coming down, then going sideways, then basically taking off. So you can see, because when we compare that to over here, right, you had this little flat top, you came down, rolled over to the low, one more low, came back up, went flat, rounded out, shot to the upside. That's the same thing here. Flat top, came down, made a low, rolled over to a new low, right? Then came back up, then rolled back over, right? So now we're like right in here. So now here's the updated chart, or here's the fractal, I mean. You can see, yeah, so, okay, so here's the little roundabout here. And now let me show you this. Here's a little roundabout right here. And here's the flat. And now we're starting to pump to the, I mean, come on. It's like, boom, right there. And a lot of people I know for sure aren't tracking this, because I've seen it. Not a lot of people are. This is flagging out here. We're in this some kind of correcting, some type of correction. We have 3 down, we have 3 up, we have 3 back down, and then it looks like a 1-2, right? So again, we have W, X, Y, 1, flat, 2. So is this the third wave? Maybe. If this is a third wave, this is going to be super, super cool, right? If I draw a line right here, you can see what? A shoulder, a head, and another shoulder here. So if you take that line, I can't match it up here, but it's approximately about 63, 64K. If we were to break this downward resistance line. I'm not even recording. So here we go, kind of side by side again. Yeah, so we had this, obviously this move up, and, we had this little bit of a, it's on a different time frame. I should be on a smaller time frame so we can see more detail. But I'm comparing this to this, and then this kind of rollover to this rollover, same thing, right? And then we move back up. And when we were up here, I said we're probably going to come down. That's exactly what we did. We came down. So now we're somewhere in here. So this is it right here. Let's see if we can, do something similar. Now, it could be boom, boom. We could come down one more time. You can see this was kind of a little bit of a three-wave move. So, don't just think, okay, we're going to go up from here. We might need a little bit, we might need to come down one more time. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but for the most part, the direction is up, down, sideways, go. Up, down, sideways, go. So yeah, we'll see how all that plays out. It's been a really interesting time following this fractal. We've been following it again since back over here at the beginning of the month, and yeah, it's been playing out pretty spot on. I mean, you can see the market. It is green, 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 green. Let's go. Okay, so I think that covers it for Bitcoin. We'll move into the altcoins. Let's look at it one more time and see if we can see anything from the live chart here. Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. We got this move down. So here's the point A, here's point B. We're right in the middle. So it's a little bit, up in the air right now, but I want to see a little bit of a pullback. Maybe let's back test this area. Then we want to start to grind through here, maybe flag out a little bit as we get towards the top, but ultimately we want to break out. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. That's my main idea. This is not financial advice. We'll see. It's been following the fractal very beautifully, right? So again, there's this fractal here, which is this smaller time frame fractal, right? And then you also have this larger fractal here that we're comparing basically to this structure over here, right? So the next order of business, you can see, is just a big pump to the upside that gets us back to the point where we broke down from. So that basically that peak. So if we come back over here, that peak would be what? Between 67 and 70K. Wow. So yeah, if we can get back to 70K, there's a very good chance that we're breaking out for, most certainly, definitely increases our chances. Now, not unfortunately, but this peak here is a little bit lower than these two peaks, but the big one would be about 71.4K. So if I had to do a little doodle here, either this is going to come down one more time for a third, or we're going to, start moving our way up and then eventually break out. And it could be very fast, and this might take more time than I put, but essentially getting up here, and then you can see essentially we're right here in the fractal. So I mean, hey, it's kind of like a little bit surreal because Bitcoin's been doing nothing for the last several months. Right? So it feels like, yeah, right. There's no way that's going to happen. Like, people get complacent. It just feels like it, and maybe it won't, but that's what the fractal says. It says we're very close. So this could be, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically a 5-wave move up. And if I just take a bars pattern and I start it from this flat top here and I go up there, and you can kind of see what happened, right? With this fractal, we had this dump down, right? Come back down, come back up, right? And then kind of maybe flag out a little bit before taking off. So maybe some kind of triangle in here would make sense to me. So when I kind of overlay it a little bit, it's a little bit different because I'm on 2 different time frames. But yeah, you can see kind of where we're at here. So, the next move obviously would be back up, sideways, and something like that. And then obviously the lock can be in here, but ultimately something like this. So then when we zoom out, just to get a visual, right? When we zoom out, that's kind of what it would look like. Now, this could be a lot bigger, right? It could take a lot longer, right? We could be over here, back all the way in October before we break out, right? There could be a lot of time in between. So it really just depends. But the main thing I'm trying to emphasize is that this actually looks bullish. Why does it look bullish? Because this is an impulse, or this is a pretty big recovery, and then now we're basically bull flagging here, right? So if I take one of these guys, put it right here, where does that get us? Exactly back to the top here. So not bad at all. And then also, right, when you look at the smaller time frames, you have this, even if it was bearish. So for example, you have 1, 2, 3. And then you have 1, 2, 3. And now you have 1, 2. Maybe we get 3. Or a lot of times C, or if it's WXY, you get 3. But if this is ABC, you would get 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even if it is bearish, I still want to see a 3-wave pullback, right? So for example, if this is an impulse down, then you want A, B, C, and then continue down. So actually, the decision would probably get met closer to up here, right? But if we get up here, it would significantly increase our chances of not having to do that, right? So, but yeah, that's it for Bitcoin. Man, it took a lot longer than I'd wanted, but haven't seen you guys all weekend, so a little bit of catching up to do there. So back to XRP. It's really the same thing. You know, XRP is kind of moving first here a little bit. So I would expect something similar for XRP. Now, if I go and I look at the XRP fractal from back in the day, which is this one here, which is the one we've been comparing it to a little bit, you know, it's not as perfect, but it's similar. So let me just put that on here, and then you can kind of see a little bit of similarities in here, right? I would have to even scrunch that up a little bit more. The scale of it is totally off, but you can kind of see the idea here, where you have this pump here, and then this pretty big pump here. So we're right here. I want to say that's about the 618. If my eye serves me correctly. Yep, 618, perfect. When you do it so long, you really can just kind of eye gauge it with where the retracement is. But yeah, we're stuck between the 618 and the 50 and the golden pocket. So this is where the big moves come from, right? So XRP looking still very, very good, right? And there's a lot to talk about with XRP, but essentially we have this huge. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have this ABC flat, and then we have this pretty big retracement here, and now we're kind of flagging out a little bit, and now we're starting to curve up. So if this thing breaks out, it's going to be pretty big, I would imagine, especially because all of the divergence it has from the rest of the market, right? And then also you can look at it like this. We have 3, 3, 5. And then you have 5, 3, 5. Right? So you have 3, and then you have 3. So you have 3 up, and you have 3 down. So what does that mean? And now you have a 1, 2. So it's probably going to get a 3, 4, and a 5. And then what you have is A, B, C. And then you get back up here. So I think that's coming. I think that's coming. And I think people should be prepared. And I think if you don't like XRP, do you not like money? I mean, that's what it's about. Like, I don't care what coin it is. I don't care if it's a meme coin or if it can make me money, then I support that asset, right? Now, if that asset is, helping out terrorists or child traffickers or whatever, then yeah, I don't want nothing to do with it. But XRP, I think it's going to be one of the greatest investments of all time. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but based off what I've seen from Ripple, all the things that they're doing, their new stable coin is going to be launched, and then also the ammunition, right? The lawsuit is over with. People think, oh, it's going to shoot up immediately. That's not how it works. I mean, it can, but most of the time, remember when the lawsuit ended that day? And what did I say when it ended? We were exploding to the upside. And what did I say? I said, yeah, it doesn't look right to me. I said, it's going up too quickly because of how this went down and how this went up. It just didn't seem right to me. And sure enough, I was proven correct. What happened? We pulled back and we needed time to elapse. For example, if the price dumped and then we were down here for a little bit and then, playing around and then the lawsuit ended right here, yeah, I can see it going up because we built a base. We had time away from the correction, right? So anyways, I think regardless of that, it's still going to look pretty dang interesting here. Now, as far as anything else is concerned, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff I need to go over. I probably have to break it up into a couple videos. I'm just looking at the sequential and seeing if there's anything. Okay, well, on the daily chart, it's actually interesting. We have a bullish engulfing candle, and we're breaking above these red dots here that this 9 created. You can see how significant it was. You can see all these dots right in here, and we're starting to break above it. You can say, well, we broke above it here. Yeah, but it was too fast. This is actually a better established base in here, right? So we'll see how it plays out. What I'm really looking for with the price of XRP is just very simply, put a downward resistance line right there. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do right there. And you can even put another one over here. You don't really need to because we're at the top already of the range. But yeah, as soon as we break that, and we're not that far away. I mean, we're very close. We're about maybe 5-6% away. So yeah, we'll see. Now when I zoom into the 1 hour chart, the problem with the 1 hour chart, it looks 3-wave-ish, right? So you have 5 down, which could be a diag, a 3-way pullback. So this is the area where we need to flag out and pump. If we don't, then it's going to look like this is going to be a bigger correction. Let's talk about that for a minute. So you've already know the bull side, but the bear side could be a little bit different, where you have A and you have this B wave, and then you come down for C. So you have A, B, C. So we could get something like this, where we back test, 51 cents or so, and then go up. I think I talked about that before. So be on the lookout for that. And if we do get something like that, then hey, whatever, right? But yeah, just be on the lookout for something like that. If that 3-way move turns into a rejection here at the retracement levels. So, look at. We'll get to theta, but let me show you. Come Come on, what are you doing? XRP versus Ethereum. Now, XRP versus Ethereum is still moving up, or at least it's retracing, right? So this is one of the most interesting charts, I think, out there, because, you know, from the last 6 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth wave triangle, flushed the low for wave 5, impulse. I would like to see this impulse get even bigger, right? That first wave, you get a big 3-wave pullback and then mega launch, or a third wave and then mega for 5th, something like that. So we got a long way to go, but you know, it could happen very fast. But yeah, XRP Ethereum is looking good, but we are on a 9, so just be aware of that. We're on a 9 sell with a reversal 8. So to me, it seems like this would probably come up. Remember what I say about wicks. You have a big wick. A lot of times it comes up and it retests 50% of that wick, and then it comes back down. So we might have some kind of ABC in here, where we backtest these red dots right here, and then continue higher. Right? So that means Ethereum would be outpacing XRP. XRP versus Bitcoin, we're right on a 9 on a weekly. So I don't know. I mean, we could, you know, it could be billowing up for something big, or we might just need a pause for a couple weeks before resuming. If you look at the Lucid SAR, we broke above it, which is very, very, very good, because we've been below it for a while. So we broke above it, and now we're in a bull trend, or at least a reversal for now. Okay, let's talk about THETA. I mean, the big story over the last week or so for me has been THETA. Why? Because THETA is on a 9 buy. That is the most beautiful signal you could possibly get, other than the monthly 9 buy, but that is a big, big, big signal right there, especially how perfected it is. You could see, look at how many red candles we had. This is not on Heikin-Ashi either. Actually, I'll go to Heikin-Ashi in a second. I haven't looked at it in a while, but you could see we have all of these red candles in a row. So that's what, 12 red candles in a row? And now we're on our first green candle, and the green happens to be a 9? Come on. I mean, that's like too good, right? So yeah, from a longer term perspective, I draw this downward resistance line. I mean, yeah, I think this thing is definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, but I'm pretty sure it's going to retrace up to here, up in here. Again, because what do we talk about? We talk about the top, right, which is point A, and then you have point B. Point A is easy. Point B is easier, right? So we're at the bottom. So what needs to come next? We need to get in the middle. And that's what happens a lot of the times. It's not going to just keep going down, 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 down. It just doesn't make sense technically. We need some kind of retracement back up here. And then it could go down, or then it could flag out and break out. So I'm calling the bottom, right? This should be in the vicinity of the bottom, right, on a 2-week scale. Now on the small time frame, you might need one more little wave to the downside, because we talked about that as well, which is what? Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. But this fourth wave is getting a little bit too big, so I don't really like it anymore. So another cool thing about it is it's also following our fractal quite beautifully, right? Remember the Bitcoin fractal. It's also looking very similar here, where you had this little flat top, you came down, you made a low, swept the low again, went sideways, actually did it again, now we're starting to back up. So, you know, it's kind of like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it looks like you have A, and then this could be a B, and then you might need a little bit more down here, right? So kind of like XRP, like a roundabout, and then you go sideways a little bit, and then you continue to the upside. I just crossed that 1 hour mark, so if you can hit that like button, it's always appreciative. This channel isn't, it's more geared to longer videos, which is probably why my channel wouldn't be growing as fast as a regular channel would. But that's kind of the price you pay for more education and kind of walking through exactly how this stuff works. If you think about it, when you were in college or high school or whatever, you go to first period, you go to second period, or you go to one class, you go to another class. Usually that class is about 45 minutes to an hour long, right? And you would have, 5, 6 classes a day. So I think this is, I wouldn't say a class, but, it's your investment. It's your money. You should care about it more than a lot of things, So I think it deserves a little bit more time, especially with how much is going on, right? But yeah, as far as THETA goes, it's a little bit difficult to read, but we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and then it looks like some kind of move like that, I would imagine. But it's a little bit different than Bitcoin. But what I would wait for is I would just put my retracement level up here, and I would see if we can breach this area. If we can breach that area, I might change it a little bit. But yeah, it's still in correcting mode. But the whole idea here is pretty simple, right? It's either a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or this is finish and this is rounding out, and then we're going to go up. So that's really what it comes down to, right? Now, if I had to pick one, I would pick this one. But the big story, even bigger than THETA, is the total 3 chart, right? And I'm going to jump into that right now, but just very, very fast. Remember, 2 week. Look at that. 2 week 9 buy. I mean, that is a beautiful setup there. And then the reason why it's so important is because look at this. The 2 week 9 sell actually called the exact top of the bull market. Pretty much the exact top, right? And this 9 buy wasn't perfected, but it led to an explosive rally. And the only other time it had another 9 buy was back over here. This one also wasn't perfected, but look at the rally it led to. So it's only ever had 3 9s. So it's only had 3 9s. This is the 4th 9. So every single 9 did its job. And this 9 is actually the best looking 9. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Now, total 3 is even more interesting because also, look at that. Also, total 3 is on a 9 buy on the weekly, on the 2 week chart. And I think a few others are as well, which is very interesting to me. Now, so yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. So we have what? We have a 1, 2, and then we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're in a 4th wave, and it looks like a triple correction, basically W, X, Y, X, Z, right? And on the Z, we have a 9 buy. So, I mean, it's like everything's lining up exactly the way it should line up, which is actually quite remarkable, how things line up the way they do. So, if we zoom in a little bit here, and we take this and look at the 9 cell on the weekly. It called the exact top. Now, if you want to know what this indicator is, it's called TD Sequential Fence Volume 3, but it's not on TradingView. You can't look for it. So if you want this indicator, it's right here. Trend Reversal Predictor. Just click that, and it's basically exactly the same. And you can modify it to make it look more like this, but it's the same thing. Let's go to the daily, or let's go to the 2-day. Look at that, 2-day 9 cell, 2-day 9 cell, right? This one wasn't that good. Now you want to use it alongside Elliott wave and divergences and other things to make it more accurate. But yeah, let's see. I actually have a channel, a really nice looking channel here. Let me just put that right there, and I'll go down here. So look at this. We're actually at the we're breaking out, and it's a little bit subjective of where I put it. I could, I want to try to get it where all the bodies are. I don't care about the wicks. But you could see that this candle, number 1, green one, we're breaking above this middle line, which is very important, I think. So we'll see how that plays out. But if I zoom in even more, say to the 8-hour chart, you can kind of see that same thing as well. So this is 3, and it kind of looks like another 3. So this thing might come up. I hope it pops up high, and it could turn into some kind of expanded flat. So we have 3, 3, 3, go sideways again, then break out. That's kind of what I would imagine. Now, if it doesn't break out as high, it could be 3 and then 3 down and then break out, right? So, we'll have to keep an eye on it, but right now it's actually looking pretty bullish here. And another way you can do it, a more simple term, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got an A, B, C, and then you have a 1, 2, and then you have a 1, 2, and now look at this. We're blasting off into the third wave. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's the idea, right? Because you got a 3-way pullback. You have a 1, 2. Let's zoom in to the 2-hour chart. Let's see if that would make sense. Yeah, it would, because the first wave, as ugly as it looks, could qualify as some kind of diagonal pattern. Yeah, and then also the 1, 2 here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this pullback. Actually, you know what? It wouldn't work because this broke the low. So that won't work, unfortunately, because I was going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? We can pump up here. We get a 3-way pullback. Continue to go. So, anyways. By the way, whoa, look at fetch. I was actually in my fetch trade, and I was considering... Literally, when I woke up this morning, I'm like, 81 cents. It looks pretty decent. Remember how we always talk about, like, how it kind of comes down, not fetch in particularly, but in general here, how it kind of bases out, and then it hits the low, and then it kind of gets stuck here, and then bam, it just takes off. Damn, I should have paid more attention to that. But it's okay. I got a little bit there. But yeah, it's doing exactly what probably what was probably most likely going to happen, which is, kind of doing this little roundabout, and then you kind of go sideways in here, and then you break out, and that's what we're doing. We're breaking out, so it's looking good. It's looking good. I want to see Theta get a little bit higher. Let's see Ethereum. I want to see Ethereum get a little bit higher, a lot higher actually. ICP looks like it's on its way. It looks like a decent... let me get rid of that. Looks like a decent little accumulation zone here. This could be maybe a 1 2 1 2, right? You got an impulse, a three-way pullback, a 1 2 1 2. Let's go. I mean, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. That's the way I see it. Now, usually when you see it a certain way, sometimes it takes a lot longer than you actually think it does, right? But, you know, in my opinion, it looks pretty primed. Velo. When I look at Velo, you got a 1 2 1 2 3 4. Let's get 5 and a 4 and a 5. Then get an ABC and then continue higher. Matic. Roundabout, flat. Look at that. We're pumping. Exactly what we thought. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to keep pumping, right? But it's going in the right direction, right? We don't want to jinx it. Zcash, 1 2. This looks like it needs to come down a little bit, then go higher. Shiba. Yeah, I want to see it go. It looks very much similar. I think it needs more time, though. It needs more time. I don't think it's going to do it now. I think it needs to... You see, anytime you have a big dump like this, right here, you need the price to get away from that dump. That's why when XRP exploded, it was so close to the dump that it just left a bad taste in my mouth. We need to get away from it. Like, let's get away from it and then go to the upside, right? We want to spread ourselves away from this. CRV, man, this one hurts my feelings because I had a really good position, but I got stopped out here and I never got back in, and it just freaking went very, very, very high. Yeah, what was that? Like, not even counting the bottom, I'll just start right here. It was about a 50% move. Now, it could be a flat, right? You could be boom, boom, boom. It could be a flat. Always be on the lookout for that. If it is, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'd probably come down. But I don't know if it's a flat. I think it's making these like it's a bottom, double bottom, triple bottom, with I believe would be I think there's divergence here, but I'm pretty much out of time, so I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, look at that. Look at the, oh man, look at that. Look at the divergence there. You had a low, lower low, lower low, low, higher low, higher low. All of this is huge divergence, and man, that's painful. Hopefully you guys are still in it. I got stopped out, so oh well. XRP should make up for it, and THETA. ADA. Yeah, I like it. It's consolidating. It's flat. It's building up. It looks like it's gonna launch, hopefully soon. It looks like a little bit of a bullish hammer candle. We got 2 hours to go on the daily close. Go to the 4-hour chart. It looks pretty much same as all the other charts. XLM looks. Is that a lower low? Yeah. And then do we have divergence? Yep. Looks good. Looks good. A, B, C. 1, 2. I want to see it get back up here. So the altcoins still have a lot of work to do. A lot of work. But I think they're going to go in the right direction. And we'll jump more into this as the week goes on. But it's only Monday, so we'll see how it goes. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. If you want to check out the membership area, you can just click join where the subscribe button is. And I should be getting one out sometime this week, talking about strategy, talking about the nitty-gritty stuff. You know, if you want more of the same stuff, but then also a little, you know, actually a lot extra, go ahead and try it for a month. And if you don't like it, just cancel it. No big deal. And yeah, but I think it would be very beneficial, especially if Bitcoin goes into this quote unquote fifth wave, or let me just go to total here, right? So if I go to total and I go to let's zoom out here. Again, we're at a major inflection point. If we break to the upside, there's a strategy. If we break to the downside, there's a strategy. And we're somewhere in here. So how do you play that? I would just, maybe just join for 1 month, and then let's say we break out, then just cancel, and then you that decision's already made, so just get rid of it. But then another decision has to be made in here, which is distribution. How do you play that, right? But if you're a hodler, you don't care, just want to hodl, probably just watch the channels enough. Always a good way to support is hitting the like button and also dropping a comment. And anyways, that'll do it for this video. Remember, it's not financial advice, just my opinion. And so far the opinion's been pretty spot on. Hasn't been 100%, but nobody's 100%. At the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We all want each other to succeed. And I think the best way to succeed is to be in these communities, right? Rather if it's the Bitcoin community, the XRP community, the THETA, whatever. It's communities involving crypto basically help people out, because without the invention of the internet, you have no crypto, and without the invention of the internet, you don't have all of the circulation of information, right? Which really helps people figure things out. And yeah, for me, it's all about paying it forward. So anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.